Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters through the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
I'm Christine Panton.
I'm Brandon Peters.
I'm Max Traver.
This is Chuck Loredens.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back to our coverage of Secret Society of Supervillains. Thank you for joining us. Last week we did issues 2 and 3. Issue 3, of course, finishing on the cliffhanger of the supervillains, featuring Captain Comet, squaring up to Mantis, and Mantis bogging off, and the villains going, right, Darkseid, we're on to you. And then Darkseid and Kalibak sort of saying, right you, let's get on with it, I'm going to send you to Earth Kalibak to cause some hassle. So, on that exciting cliffhanger reprise, Peter will now tell us about the cover to issue 4. Issue 4, which was published on the 10th of August, 1976.
Yes, folks, the cigar band has gone.
Oh my goodness!
No. That era seems to have passed us.
Wow.
We might have one or two that we're still to do, we'll still have it, but as far as Secret Society of Supervillains goes, it's gone, it's no more. But we still have the line of DC Superstars in the top left. And top right, 30 cents, number 4, December, and production code is 30646. Roll call at the top, well, partial roll call. Manhunter, Super Gorilla Grodd, Sinestro, the Renegade Green Lantern. Together they are the Secret Society of Supervillains. And let's be honest, there's a lot more to them than that, but never mind. Now, this is a very odd cover, I would say. You've got a fight scene at the front. We're on a railway track. There is a train coming and fighting on the tracks. We have Kalibak, the new god, son of Darkseid. And he's fighting Gorilla Grodd, and it seems that Captain Boomerang and Manhunter and Sinestro are holding back Grodd as if they're trying to stop him.
Yeah, it's almost like a scene outside an Essex pub on Friday night when Manhunter and Boomerang and Sinestro are out shooting. Leave it out, Wayne, it's not worth it.
Exactly.
Listeners of States, watch an episode of Made in Chelsea and you'll get an idea what this cover's like.
But flying in towards these battling hairy foes is a character on skis, and he's got some sort of face guard. He's got a yellow cape. His costume's blue and red with yellow gloves. He's got ski poles. It's bizarre. And there's an arrow introducing this character. The Black Racer. His touch means death. But for whom?
Gosh, that suggests all sorts of adventurous and exciting stuff, doesn't it, listeners? Am I going to have something to say about this cover after we finish this issue? Maybe.
I have a sense you will have. And at the bottom, there's a scroll caption that says, The Mightiest Menaces on Earth versus Darkseid's Intergalactic Empire of Evil.
Amazing. Now, listeners, you're probably sick of me talking about this, but this is a real Defenders 39 cover. I'm sick of saying it, but it's become a shorthand for sort of saying at this point, it seems that covers are not entirely representative of what's going on. I mean, the days when you would do an issue of Flash or Lois Lane and you would see the cover image closely replicated in a panel of the story.
Yeah.
You know, those days are long gone. This is suggestive at best of what's going on, but I don't want that to come across as a criticism because I'm loving Secret Society. And I can't wait for us to jump in.
Yes.
So we begin with a splash page, which along the top reads, The Secret Society of Supervillains, and we get the story title,
When Thieves Fall Out.
And then we get the credits for this issue.
David Kraft, writer. Pablo Marcos, Ernie Chan, Vince Coletta, artists. Jerry Conway, editor.
Yes. And proceedings begin with this gorgeous splash panel showing Manhunter and Mirror Master and Captain Cold and Captain Comet, hijack of the Royal Flush Gang, and Gorilla Grodd, all challenging Sinestro and the Wizard for standing idle during the fight with Mantis, which happened at the end of last issue. Unsurprisingly, a fight breaks out amongst them all, with the Wizard's magic banishing Hijack to limbo, and Manhunter and Boomerang suffering a bit too. After a couple of pages, Sinestro stills the Wizard, saying, Enough, my cantankerous comrade. Wizard reacts to Sinestro's slight invasion of his personal space by saying,
Eh? What new attack?
No attack, Wizard. Our ill-mannered opponents have not yet recovered. It avails us not to engage in fruitless conflict, thus I say we tarry no longer, for we have far more cosmic matters to contemplate. And he rings a chair for the Wizard to sit in, and they fly off. As they leave, Grodd yells,
They're escaping!
Captain Comet cries,
We've got to stop them!
but Manhunter manages somehow to hold them both back, saying, No, let them go. And he gets a dramatic close-up in the Neil Adams style as he continues, We have worse to worry about than a couple of deserters. By choosing to oppose Darkseid rather than serve him, the secret society is now an enemy force in his war for Earthdeath. And Darkseid does not tolerate defiance from his own troops. When he learns we now occupy this secret sanctuary, he will hasten to recapture it, and he has all the war machinery and warriors of an entire world at his command. We must prepare for that assault, but I fear it will not be long in coming.
Meanwhile, high in the sunny skies over San Francisco...
We're back with Green Lantern Hal Jordan and Star Sapphire. As they're flying through the air, Green Lantern is thinking, Face it, Lantern, you're a sucker for a mysterious woman. Why else would you team up with Star Sapphire? Star Sapphire seems to pick up on his vibe as she says,
You must not mistrust me, mon ami. Not when we face the ultimate threat to the universe. The demonic Darkseid.
They start to descend from the sky as Hal replies, Or when we're on our way to rescue your pals, right?
It is not just we supervillains who will suffer Darkseid's wrath, Green Lantern. He seeks to conquer all men.
They both alight and make their way into a very shaded, shadowy doorway, obviously the way into the secret sanctum. As Hal says, You didn't have to lay it on quite so thick, Star. Lead on. If this is a trap, it'll close in on the trapper.
I like a hero. Very well. I shall go first.
And she seems to be sprinting ahead. Green Lantern pauses as he hears a and he thinks, Huh? Someone hiding over there, waiting for me to go below. And shadows seem to be drawing in on him as he continues to think, I was right then. This is a trap. Behind Green Lantern is none other than Mantis, still on low power. And we see Mantis thinking to himself, Demons of Darkseid. I do not wish to attract attention while my power is at an ebb. However, perhaps I can turn this misfortune to my advantage. The approaching stranger is one of the fabled Green Lanterns, and their power is known throughout the galaxy, and that power must belong to Mantis. And he strikes GL from behind. Hal exclaims, Ugh! GL looks round from his position on the floor, saying, Sneak attacks tend to irritate me, fella, so talk fast, while you still can. Mantis gestures, saying, I am Mantis, Earthman, the power parasite, and the agent of your destruction. Power parasite, huh? Well, let's see how you handle an energy blast from my power ring. And GL fires at Mantis with a zick. And Mantis, instead of sort of doubling over or looking pained, is just sort of surrounded by a green aura as he says, Witless one, that's exactly what I hoped you'd do. Your emerald energy is feeding me, strengthening me, even as it drains your very life. Hal grows weaker, and Mantis declares, Bah, you're too weak to resist, and since my will is now the strongest, I shall absorb all the energy remaining in your power ring. Mantis then seems to vanish or almost fade out from under a massive burst of green energy. I mean, it's like, it almost looks as if Green Lantern's power ring is exploding. And all this energy all over the place, Mantis is saying, Never have I felt so mighty. I am bursting with power enough to rival great Darkseid himself, and soon I shall surpass even him. And his power continues to bubble all around him. He laughs manically for 3 panels, and I'm not going to do the laugh, you can just imagine it. Green Lantern is seen flat out on the ground as from behind Mantis, a voice roars,
Surpass me, loyal Mantis? You are crazed with power, insect. Power which you vastly overestimate.
Mantis turns and cries, Darkseid?
You failed me, Mantis, by allowing the secret sanctuary to fall into enemy hands, and you have spoken treason. The time for reckoning has come.
Over the page, there's a quick slow dissolve and a caption reads,
And still elsewhere, as 2 furtive figures soar above concealing clouds.
Yes, we see Sinestro carrying almost the little chair that he ringed for the wizard to sit in. Flying them through the air, Sinestro is saying, An effective ploy, wizard. Using invisibility to put some distance between ourselves and Green Lantern.
Fortunately, we saw him before he saw us. Tempting as it may be to attack your old foe, Sinestro, we have far weightier matters to occupy us, such as contacting Darkseid.
And they've obviously arrived somewhere, because Sinestro continues from that, saying, Which may be best done from this, his Sinister Citadel. Great Corridor! Earthmen in Darkseid Citadel! And we can see, in the background, a very brutish-looking baldy chap in a waistcoat and a shirt pulling a lever on a very fancy-looking machine. And then, in the foreground, a small, slightly overweight man with sort of tufts of white hair around the back of his head, kneeling on all fours, as another chap in a sort of bluey-green suit with a bow tie and a thick moustache and beard and dark glasses is sort of sat there with his feet up on the back of this little fellow. And the chap with the dark glasses and the moustache and the beard addresses Sinestro's concerns as he says,
"My marvellous moniker is Fearless Funky Flashman, fellas, and I'm here to help you help yourselves to the hallowed halcyon hypocrisy of high-class hoopla and hype."
He points at Sinestro.
"You pal with the Wild Widow's peak and the rather rubicund complexion must be none other than the sensational star rogue Sinestro. And your fantastic friend, outfitted in such fanciful fashion, can only be that flamboyant fakir, the wondrous wizard. Today is your lucky day."
And the bald chap who we saw in the background leans forward and says, "Funky, are you absolutely sure about this? I mean, they are supervillains, you know."
"Exactly, Toad. And it's your vapid sort of attitude that I, Funky the Fabulous, intend to erase from the miasmic minds of the pliable plastic public. How many times, my dear vainglorious villains, have you suffered the indignities of bad press? In past pugilistic polemics with superheroes, who got the blame for destruction of public property? Not the heroes, I assure you."
And Wizard and Sinestro, looking a little bored with this, Wizard says,
"Get to the point, man."
And Funky Flashman just gestures casually and replies,
"The point is that they have contacts. Why else do you think Superman's put up with that milksop Clark Kent for all these years? And what their contacts do for them, I can do for you."
And he then boots the backside of the small little fellow he had his feet on, saying,
"Out, you overstuffed footstool. I have business to bombard these deathless, dangerous desperados with. Business which most pointedly is none of yours. You two, Toad, get lost. You bother me."
And they take their exit. Now, Peter and I are undecided. We're not sure if this is Carstairs the butler. But anyway, Funky Flashman then turns once again to Sinestro and the Wizard as he continues.
"Get about your trap duties. Find me someone who will rejoice in relishing on me the respect I so richly deserve. Someone sage enough to soothe me and servile enough to suit me. In short, your replacements. It's so hard to get good help these days. Now, as I was saying, pilgrims..."
Alas, we'll have to wait until next issue to hear the rest of Funky's pithy pitch. 'Cause right now, back at the Hidden Retreat...
Sapphire has returned to the other villains. She answers Manhunter's questions about where she's been by saying she had gone to fetch Green Lantern, and that he's coming down the stairs behind her. However, it is not Green Lantern who emerges, it is Kalibak, who marches in and grabs Star Sapphire by the wrist, saying, "Surrender at once, fools, or perish! So speaks Kalibak, the cruel!" Kalibak then picks up Sapphire and throws her into Captain Cold, knocking them both out. Gorilla Grodd then bravely squares up to Kalibak, and they tussle before Kalibak launches himself at Grodd, and they go right through the wall to plummet downwards. As captions read,
Locked in battle and oblivious to all else, the two savage forms flash through the gaping hole they have created, into the madly churning waters of San Francisco Bay. They continue to fight, even as they sink below the surface, and are swept away, lost to our sight in a splash of murky water. While above...
Yes, we're back with Darkseid and Mantis, with Darkseid saying,
"Darkseid is here, Mantis. Are you ready to challenge me?"
"You misunderstand me, sire. I spoke in haste without considering the meaning of my words. Ever have I served you faithfully."
"And many times have you failed me, Mantis."
"No, great Darkseid. I beg you to let me prove myself. I must have revenge on the supervillains."
"Your vengeance does not concern me, Mantis."
"Then you force me to oppose you, to pit my raw power against yours. You force me to destroy you, Darkseid, for mine is the sheer cosmic power of a Green Lantern." And he gestures with his left hand, and a massive green cloud sort of seems to come from his hand and surround Darkseid. A caption reads,
For a long moment, Darkseid is bathed in seething emerald energy. Then...
Mantis looks a little concerned and says, You still stand? Unaffected? It can't be!" And surrounded by burning green flame and being utterly casually indifferent to the whole thing, Darkseid folds his arms and says,
Your efforts amuse me, Mantis.
And Mantis zaps him again, saying, "Fall! You must fall! I am bursting with the power used by the Green Lanterns to protect the universe itself. But Darkseid laughs and says,
Perhaps the universe itself shall soon belong to Darkseid, eh, insect? Meanwhile, at Fisherman's Wharf, two breathless figures erupt from the bay waters, still battering each other with angry blows.
Yes, it's Kalibak and Grodd who trade insults and punches for the next couple of pages, culminating in Grodd being buried under what looks like a just pile of pavement or a big chunk of building, and then Kalibak uproots a lamppost, saying, I offer you one chance for survival, simian upstart. Swear allegiance to Darkseid. Swear to serve him, even if it means waging war on your former comrades in the secret society. Swear it, or this lamppost will be your death. Grodd, looking not too bothered by all that's going on, says,
I have no love for my comrades, Kalibak, but still less for your kind. No.
Again the battle is joined, and so intent on their savage struggle are the angry antagonists that neither notices until the last moment that they have stumbled directly into the path of a speeding trolley car.
Yes, because Grodd has launched himself out the rubble he was surrounded with, tossed the lamppost out the way, gone for Kalibak, and indeed, as Peter in the caption just said, we see a trolley car powering down towards them, and we can see that the trolley car has written on it, Powell and Market, Aquatic Park, Maritime Museum, Hayden Beach, Fisherman's Wharf. So that's obviously all of its destinations. There is a magnificent spectacle sound effect as both hairy guys are sent flying.
Unprepared for the incredible impact, both are left bruised and stunned in its aftermath. They eye each other wearily, searching for the slightest signs of weakness. Kalibak is the first to rise.
And he launches himself towards Grodd, saying, Now, you mealy-mouthed monkey.
Enough, Kalibak, and more than enough.
What?
I yield,
says Grodd, looking a bit tricky if you ask me. Kalibak takes a step back. Then I shall spare you, Grodd, but only if you solemnly swear to serve great Darkseid. Well?
I swear it.
Good. You shall live to carry out his commands. And foolishly, Kalibak turns and starts to walk away, saying, Come along now, and never forget that it was Kalibak who cowed you. But what he doesn't see is that behind him, Grodd is reaching down and picking up a large piece of rubble, and he's thinking,
Not quite, my friend.
Then he says,
I made a wager with you, Kalibak, a wager that I would defeat you.
And launching this huge chunk of rubble at Kalibak, it strikes him in the back of the head with a sound effect that goes like this.
Whack! And Gorilla Grodd always wins his wagers, even if he has to cheat.
And then Grodd starts to walk away, and he looks a little wobbly as he says,
After all, I am a supervillain, and you know the saying, there is no honour among thieves.
And he pitches forward, unconscious on the ground. A caption reads,
Meanwhile,
and we cut back to Darkseid and Mantis. Oh my god, I'm bored of Darkseid and Mantis. Darkseid, looking down at Mantis, nonplussed, traces of green energy floating in the air as Darkseid says,
alas, how the mighty have fallen. I was fond of you, Mantis, and in my own way I shall miss you. But even Darkseid must make sacrifices to the harsh demands of discipline.
No, sire. I was intoxicated with power, charged beyond my tolerance. You see, Mantis is on his knees, looking up at his boss. There's a great shot of him framed between Darkseid's legs, but Darkseid isn't having it.
What a pity, then, that you exhausted your pathetic powers in mindless mutiny,
for now you truly have need of them.
And he points to his left. Mantis looks, following his eyes. Darkseid continues,
Turn, Mantis, turn and behold the grim face of fate.
No, not him! Not him! And Darkseid says,
Aye, Mantis, he comes.
And we see a dark-skinned man wearing a blue tunic with red accessories, gloves, trunks, etc., and a red cape, coming in at speed on skis in mid-air. Goodness me! Who could this be? Well, Darkseid tells us.
The Black Racer comes. He whose touches death to the new gods comes. For you.
And a large caption box concludes issue 4, saying,
Next, Funky Flashman's proposition for Sinestro and the Wizard. The fate of Copperhead. The Black Racer claims his victims. A New Life for Captain Comet, and Manhunter vs. Darkseid in the shattering conclusion of the War for Earthdeath in Secret Society of Supervillains Issue 5, on sale the second week in October.
Well, right, let's get my moan about the cover out of the way. That was a lot of fun. So what we have on the cover is Manhunter, Sinestro, and Captain Boomerang trying to hold Grodd back from fighting with Kalibak. Now, Sinestro had bogged off at the start of this issue. He wasn't around. And the fight between Kalibak and Gorilla Grodd took place largely, in fact, 95% of it took place away from the other characters. So Manhunter and Boomerang were not there to join in with the fight.
Nope.
The fight on the cover seems to be taking place on a railway line.
Yes,
And it was a trolley car which hit them briefly, and Darkseid's pal, the Black Racer, seems to be zooming down as if to claim Kalibak or Grodd, but he's not anywhere near that fight. He turns up to hassle Mantis. That's even worse than Defenders issue 39. But it's still an amazing cover.
Yes, I think you should retire the reference to Defenders 39 and call it Secret Society issue 4 from now on.
Yes. Alec, what do you think? You think that's fair?
Write in and let us know.
Alec, I've not seen you for ages. Anyway, just saying. What do you think issue 4 then, Peter?
Issue 4 progressed the plot. There's not much actually happened in it. You've
No.
got Mantis' rebellion. It's mostly the fight scene between Kalibak and Grodd, to be honest,
Yeah.
which is drawn beautifully, by the way. I really, really enjoyed the fight scene. It's great.
Artwork's amazing in this issue. I mean, there is the schism in that Sinestro and the Wizard have gone off on their own.
Yeah,
Hijack banished to Limbo. Will we ever see him again? I can't remember.
Do you want a spoiler?
No.
Okay.
No, obviously not.
Then I shall not say. Captain Comet's got nothing to do in this.
Yeah.
Even when he's in that fight scene early on, it just vanishes. I mean, you think that it would help when he's standing right beside Grodd when Grodd starts fighting Kalibak,
Yeah.
and he's not knocked out. So why doesn't he join in? Why doesn't he help?
Yeah, at this point, it still feels like Manhunter is the main guy in charge of what's going on, in a way.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
He's the guy that's going to guide them and give them the speech.
Yeah, the Captain America speech, yeah.
Yeah, him that converses with Sapphire. Comet is barely... I mean, he doesn't appear at all in the last,
Oh, no.
third to half of the issue. He's
Yeah.
maybe he was directing the next episode, so only appeared in this one quite lightly, so he could do all his preparation. It does move things along because we get a bit of a tussle between Mantis and Darkseid, which starts to take Mantis off the table. But we also got the introduction of Funky Flashman. Now, I'm not too sure the first time I encountered him, to be honest. It might have been in one issue of Secret Society when I bought it in the early 90s, but what can you tell us about Funky Flashman?
Fearless Funky Flashman. I remember when I created Funky Flashman. Funky Flashman is obviously a Stan Lee parody that Jack Kirby wrote into Mr. Miracle and basically made him a huckster, conman, promoter, showman kind of character, with a sidekick called House Roy, who was a parody of Roy Thomas, and portrayed him as very much the lackey and the simpering kind of like riffraff kind of character.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was Jack working out some of his issues at DC by channeling through this.
I would say so.
Yeah, so that's Funky Flashman. He's terrifically fun to play. I feel like doing a high five every time I manage to say one of his lines in one take. So
I think it must have been an issue of this where I became aware of him the first time.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if he's been used too much beyond this.
He appeared in the Mr. Miracle special that Steve Rude did, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I've not looked this up, folks. And also he was a main supporting character in Tom King and Mitch Gerads' Mr. Miracle maxi series.
Of course, which I have a hardcover collection of, but I haven't read it yet. I'll get there eventually, listeners.
It's phenomenal. Highly recommended. Yeah.
Next year is when I start reading again. This year I felt I haven't read anything very much at all, but next year is my solemn vow.
Mm-hmm.
There's not too much to say about this one. The artwork is nice. It's very fluid. It does move things along, as I say, with the schism. But it almost feels like a kind of an episode 3 of a 4-part Doctor Who story where they kind of try and slow down the plot a little bit just because the next episodes are the one where they want to wind it up, but they don't want to get there too quickly.
Yeah, Green Lantern appears solely to become someone that charges up Mantis, who then discharges himself instantly, and just to show how powerful Darkseid is.
Yeah.
And that page, actually, there's the second panel on that page where Mantis is attacking Darkseid. Darkseid's face looks far too human.
Yes.
He should look a bit more like the Thing. He should have a much rockier complexion.
Yes, He doesn't have the heavy brow. He doesn't look like he's been carved out of granite at all. He just looks like a man with a grey face.
Yeah. Apart from that, I think the artwork is great in this. The fight scene between Grodd and Kalibak was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I do like the impact of the trolley car against the two of them, because you've got
almost Jack Kirby poses
Yes.
of the two of them, like being thrown forward by this trolley car.
Yeah, we'll definitely have that panel on the socials this week, listeners, I feel.
Yeah, all of the impact lines there as well. It's very
Yeah.
dramatic. It's great.
I mean, it's interesting because at the start of this issue, we get the art credits, and there's a few people involved. Pablo Marcos, Ernie Chan, and Vince Coletta. So presumably Vin Coletta on inks, and maybe the other lads were drawing.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to work out the difference, but it definitely feels like some of it might have been drawn by different people at different points.
Yeah, that might actually explain some of the differences in Darkseid's face.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not 100% who's doing what.
Yeah.
Martin, if you're listening, you probably know exactly what
Yeah.
panel's done by whom. So, yeah.
And of course, the 11th hour appearance of the Black Racer, despite his prominence on the cover, probably to try and entice readers of the Kirby Fourth World stuff to pick up this book.
Exactly, yeah.
What can you tell us about the Black Racer?
The Black Racer is kind of like the god of death for the New Gods, but it's created by Kirby, and you can obviously tell he's kind of trying to get the Silver Surfer vibe back. But instead of riding a surfboard, he's a skier, which is bizarre.
Yeah, it's almost to me like a Mark Millar version of the Silver Surfer, where he takes the main characteristics and flips them 90 degrees and changes a couple of colours around.
Yeah. He's probably one of the goofiest looking New Gods, but he's also the most serious one, because New Gods die when the Black Racer appears.
Right, I see. So we'll have to see then, listeners, with the Black Racer turning up at the end of issue 4, we'll have to see if anyone dies in issue 5. We'll get to issue 5 very soon, don't you worry. We're now going to jump to contemporary correspondence. And there's a big long letter we're going to read from issue 6 of Secret Society. And it goes like this.
Dear Editor, today I bought, read and enjoyed the latest issue, number 4, of the Secret Society of Supervillains. What a comic! This is the one book in the stands today that is everything a comic fan could want. You have villains, heroes, cosmic concepts, humour and characterisation that surpasses not only your competition, but even many of the other comics in your own line. Let me make a few for instances. Supervillains. In many other books, supervillains appear, but not in every issue. Sometimes Batman might just be fighting some common crooks instead of one of his costumed superfoes. The Justice League is often pitted against alien beings or some social problem, rather than the enemies who have a personal beef with the individual members. The Secret Society of Supervillains is the only DC comic that guarantees supervillains in every issue. Superheroes. Not every comic is a superhero comic, true. However, it seems that the superheroes is what comic fandom has built itself around. In Secret Society, you have the resident superheroes, Manhunter and Captain Comet, and you often get an extra added treat when another hero pops up, such as Green Lantern. Concepts. Two of the most exciting series ever to hit comics were the Fourth World series and the Manhunter stories. Secret Society of Supervillains has become the bridge that connects these two series, thus making a third concept that has all the potential of becoming the most mind-boggling of all. Humour and characterisation. The writing and the basic setup in SSOSV opens many doors for humour. The villains, by their very nature, cannot get along with one another. This makes for some terrific characterisation and, in turn, some humorous situations. Captain Comet is a concept all by himself. He is all the factors I mentioned rolled into one. He fights the supervillains. He is a superhero. His mutant powers are cosmically intriguing. The man of the future who fought in the past and who is behind in the times today type of characterisation you've given him makes him the perfect central character. I hope you don't mind my analysation of your comic, but I just wanted to illustrate to others how much they are getting for their 30 cents. The Secret Society of Supervillains is worth every penny! And that's from Ralph Hamilton, Dover, New Jersey.
Editorial response reads, your analysation is perfect. Ralph, couldn't you just say analysis? Kids today, listeners. How could we mind such careful scrutiny? We love it. The concept of SSOSV is indeed a mind-boggling one. It becomes even more so when you consider the position of the new story editor. That's right, villain lovers. This comic is in new hands for the third time in its short 6-issue history. This, of course, means monumental changes, as it does every time such a thing takes place. As you stated, Ralph, Captain Comet's enough going for him to be our central character. This is what he is. We feel Secret Society of Supervillains starring Captain Comet strong enough to exist on its own, without rehashing the battles and concepts of comic series that have since bitten proverbial dust. True, Captain Comet himself was an old character from the pages of the 50s and 60s science fiction title Strange Adventures, but we plan to bend and shape him into a completely different sort of character. So it's with pride that we warn you not to miss a single issue of the upcoming SSOSV. That's really all we have to go with that letter, but moving to issue 7, There are a couple of other ones we want to do there. The first one goes, Dear Editor, funky Flashman? Do you people get as excited as we readers about the fantastic number and variety of characters running around your comics pages? It's so enjoyable to see such all-time greats as Sinestro, Captain Boomerang, Manhunter and Grodd on a regular basis. And every issue there's new additions even though they all seem to be on Darkseid's side. It's getting so you can't tell the bad guys from the bad guys. Funky Flashman? Issue 4 was really good. I mean, look at all the things that happened. Kalibak battled Grodd. Darkseid battled Mantis. Mantis battled Green Lantern. Kalibak battled the Secret Society. And finally, the Society battled amongst themselves. I'd wager no one has seen that much battle action this side of the longest day. For having as much action as it did, number 4 was paced beautifully. What really stood out as having class, though, was Grodd's fight with Kalibak. Grodd may be a little sneaky, but he is effective. Just a few questions before closing. Actually, you could consider them requests, if you would. We're not going to see Hijack and Green Lantern both shrugged off so indifferently, are we? And will we see more new members for the Society? The format, as well as the membership, will stay relatively loose and unrestricted, won't it? The Society, of course, will do other things besides fight Darkseid. Everything in Secret Society is moving along just splendidly. You've got me hooked, but funky Flashman? And that excellent letter, one of my favourites we've ever read out, comes from Mike Christensen, 704 South 3rd Street, Rockford, Illinois. Steve, go and see if he's home.
Editorial response says, Yep, funky Flashman. While not the most sinister of masterminds, mastermind he is. We hope your questions have been answered by this time too. We've hooked you with our earlier editions. Have we reeled you in with our new directions, says Jack C. Harris.
Gosh. We're not going to read the rest of the letters from this issue, but we'll quickly mention the missive from Lee Mackinson from Massachusetts, who basically asks for a little more variety in the villains, hoping it would be more than the ones that we've seen already. He mentions the Justice Gang of Earth 2, the Legion of Supervillains, imagine that, and the Fatal Five from the future, and of course the Earth 3 villains. And he says, I'd like to see them all in Secret Society of Supervillains, sometimes battling each other. Interesting ideas there to bear in mind.
Stay tuned.
That was issue 4. The climatic cliffhanger featuring Darkseid and Mantis and the Black Racer. What's going to happen in issue 5? Well, hang tight, Pilgrim. We'll be right back. And now, listeners, we move straight on to issue 5, published on the 12th of October, 1976, just a matter of days after the 36th birthday of John Lennon of the Beatles, and Peter will tell us about the cover.
Top left corner, the line of DC Superstars. Top right corner, 30 cents, number 5, February 30646, same as last time. Totally evil beings battle helpless heroes to save a city. The Secret Society of Supervillains. This is a very dynamic cover. We're in San Francisco, obviously. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, but it looks wrecked. In fact, most of the city looks wrecked. There is a skyscraper in the background that is crumbling. Captain Comet is flying up to try and stop it from toppling onto the streets below. And the cause of all this damage seems to be Sinestro, who's front and centre, flying up. And he's being confronted by 3 other characters. Star Sapphire's flying in, Green Lantern's flying in, and Hawkman is flying in, but Hawkman seems to be caught in a yellow aura burst projected by Sinestro, who says,
Too late! The Citadel goes, and you go with it!
And there's a caption at the bottom saying, San Francisco, you haven't got a chance! And above the barcode, we have the signature of the artist of this amazing cover, and it's Ernie Chan, 1976, with a small Coletta written underneath.
Yep, Ernie drew the cover to the last issue as well, so we shall see how accurate this cover is as far as events inside. So, we begin. A little caption along the top of the opening splash panel reads,
Despite their absence from the scene, the stars of this saga are members of the Secret Society of Supervillains.
Very dynamic opening image. Green Lantern's out for the count in the background. Mantis on his knees before Darkseid, who's rocking an astonishing pair of thigh-length boots. And the Black Racer can be seen zooming in from above as Darkseid addresses the lad in green, not Hal Jordan, Mantis, and says,
Your grovelling disgusts me, Mantis. Cease and face death as a godling should.
Have mercy, great Darkseid. I swear my undying loyalty to you. Let me live.
But fret not, felon fans, the world's strangest super team will be arriving before the mutinous Mantis falls victim to the Black Racer, and with their appearance will come the
Endgame. Then we get the credits for this issue.
Bob Rozakis, writer. Rich Buckler and Vince Coletta, artists. Denny O'Neill, story editor.
Yes, which already, tying back to the contemporary correspondence we just did, that highlights the rapid changes. There's a caption for the first panel of page 2.
Few things startle Darkseid, God Lord of Apocalypse, but you're about to witness one of those few.
Yes, looking to the side, Darkseid is confronted by the sight of Manhunter rushing in with Captain Boomerang, Captain Cold, Mirror Master, and Captain Comet and Star Sapphire flying in, and it must be said, I've seen them rendered better in the pages of this series. As the, shall we say, heroes of our series rush towards Darkseid, Manhunter says, "At last, Darkseid, we are face to face."
Manhunter, and my former earthly minions.
And at this, Darkseid turns to the Black Racer, gestures, waves him away, saying,
Away, Racer! Have patience, and you shall claim more than just one victim this day.
And tiny image of Black Racer in this panel as he turns and leaves, which really, really does undercut the impact of the cover of issue 4, doesn't it, listeners? Darkseid then seems to be facing the camera as he yells,
Victims which you will supply, Mantis. Now, prove your loyalty to Darkseid by destroying the supervillains.
And then it looks as though Darkseid flies off in the next panel, and Mantis unleashes a hand blast which explodes with a kapow! As he says, Gladly, great master! You see an explosion going off, and Manhunter seems to be slightly rocked on his feet. The Mantis turns to him saying, You shall be the first to die! And then Mantis is struck by a boomerang, hurled by Captain Boomerang, who speaks in what I suppose is supposed to be caricatured Australian lingo, but obviously not really written by someone who understands how Australians speak, when he says, Sorry, bloke, Manhunter is one of us, and the secret society protects its own. Now, bloke, it really just means guy or man, but you would use it more in an adjective fashion. You wouldn't really use it. You would never really say it in the same way that you would say man or fella. So that was shocking research on the English language there from the point of Bob Rozakis.
Yes.
Mantis reacts to Boomer's boomerang by trying to again fire at Manhunter, Captain Comet, and Star Sapphire. Comet and Sapphire both grab Manhunter under the arm and beat him off into the sky as he says, I must get to Darkseid. Either of you must drop me on him. Mantis hand blasts Sapphire, and so Comet has to fly them to safety. Mantis boasts to the other villains, but Captain Cold zaps him, freezing Mantis in a block of ice that he immediately bursts free of. Observing that Mirror Master, Captain Cold, and Boomerang seem too stunned to move, Mantis hand blasts them, and the three victims are instead revealed to be their reflections, created by a collaboration between Captain Cold and Mirror Master. With a satisfying blam, the three flash foes punch Mantis, knocking him to the ground. Darkseid chides Mantis, saying,
They are besting you, Mantis. A poor showing for one of my elite.
But Mantis assures his master he's only toying with the villains and gets to his feet to unleash a couple of hand blasts at Cold and the others. However, the blasts fizzle out, with Mantis saying, What magic is this? My energy blasts slowing down, stopping! As Captain Comet flies back into view, saying,
No magic, Mantis. Merely the mental powers of Captain Comet, a man born 100,000 years before his time.
And he swings a cracking punch which sends Mantis flying back with an ugh. Mantis, looking up at Captain Comet, bearing down on him, thinks, Keep talking, witless fool, while I deliver a power-charged blow to your... But he's not quick enough. Captain Comet zooms in and grabs his arm, saying,
It is not I who am witless, Mantis. You are the fool for thinking you can pull a sneak attack on a man who can read minds.
What? Cries Mantis, and he's raging. Captain Comet then punches Mantis, sending him flying as Darkseid looks on, saying,
That's it, Earthmen. Destroy Mantis. It will save me the bother, and then I will have only you to dispose of.
Rushing in behind Darkseid, Manhunter replies, You'll be disposing of no one, Darkseid. This is the day you die. And he jumps for the granite-faced Apocalypse bad guy, grabbing him round the throat as Darkseid tries to reach up for him. We see in the background that the Black Racer has zoomed back into view as Darkseid says,
You dare to attack me, Manhunter?
And he flips his arm, throwing Manhunter over his shoulder down onto the ground, but Manhunter says, You're not escaping me, Darkseid. It took too long already to lure you to Earth so I could get this shot at you. Darkseid kicks at him, saying,
Away, insect! A boom tube arrives to return me to Apocalypse. Nothing you do can prevent it.
And with a Kirby crackle, we see a boom tube opening behind Darkseid indeed. He turns to move into it as Manhunter launches himself at Darkseid's back, saying, "Wrong! You forget that I am a clone, a man born in a test tube. My creators made me the ultimate assassin, a human bomb, with enough built-in explosives to destroy any target, including a god from Apocalypse." And Manhunter collides with Darkseid in the opening of the boom tube, and there is an astonishing explosion that detonates with a huge and in the middle of all this, a massive caption reads,
Endgame.
We see the Black Racer hovering above the explosion, and Captain Comet, Star Sapphire, Mirror Master, Captain Boomerang, Captain Cold cowering from it, and Mantis seemingly being caught in the waves of destruction as well. And on the next page, we return to the Sinister Citadel for a conversation between Funky, Flashman, Sinestro and the Wizard, where the former Green Lantern is exasperated by Funky's baffle-gab about merchandising opportunities for the villains and how his skills will overcome consumer resistance. Sinestro reaches his limit with Funky and Who Can Blame Him, and after slamming his hand into Funky's face to hush him, Sinestro rings a hole in the wall and flies off, saying, "Farewell, fool. Sinestro has had more than his fill of Earth and its inhabitants." And Funky says,
Well, he'd be a tough one to sell to the public anyway. That red skin, you know. Now, Wizard, my man.
On that note, we take our leave of the frankly fantabulous Funky for now, to return next issue.
Next page begins with a caption.
Some 30 minutes have passed since Darkseid and Manhunter disappeared in their blast of glory. Now, from the resultant trouble, a figure stirs.
Captain Comet pulls himself to the surface of the rubble, noting that there's no sign of the other villains. But, picking up the thought patterns of someone who's also trapped in the rubble, he's able to unearth...
Green Lantern!
That's the name, fella. And if you're planning to pummel me like you did last time we met, don't waste your strength, just put me back in that hole. A little asterisk reminds us of...
In issue 2, Denny.
With Green Lantern on his feet, Captain Comet shakes hands, saying,
I have no intention of continuing that battle, Lantern. We're on the same side.
"You sure could have fooled me." The two heroes fly off in the next panel with Comet basically helping GL along and saying,
Even a man with my powers is capable of making a mistake. But let's discuss that after we get you medical aid. Merely direct me to the nearest hospital.
"I don't need a hospital. There's a much better place." And over the page, we get a shot of a familiar satellite as Green Lantern concludes, "Justice League headquarters."
And shortly, at a hastily called meeting 22,300 miles above the Earth...
Yes, we see Captain Comet sat, arms folded at the meeting table, and also present are Green Lantern, as we'd expect, Superman, Green Arrow, Elongated Man, and Hawkman. Green Lantern is obviously concluding his little summary of events as he says, "And after Mantis drained my power, he left me to die. If not for Captain Comet, I'd still be buried under that rubble." An asterisk leads us to another caption that reads,
You saw it last issue, unless you were foolish enough to miss it. Or indeed, the first half of this episode.
Superman gestures in the next panel saying,
Well, the satellite's computer gives you a clean bill of health, Captain. It verifies that you were operating as a superhero 20 years ago.
And Green Arrow, possibly as we'd expect, isn't too chuffed about this. He says,
Whoop-de-doo. So what are we here for? To vote him into the JLA?
Captain Comet says,
I have no desire to join your organization at present, Green Arrow, but I do want to work with you.
GL stands up at this point saying, "Since the captain mistook me for a villain, we thought it'd be a good idea for him to have a chaperone for a while." And Green Arrow, we don't see it, but I bet he rolls his eyes when he says,
Oh, here we go again. Now we're going to nursemaid a superhero has-been.
Elongated Man isn't too impressed by Green Arrow's attitude. He points at the Archer and says,
If you don't want to help him, don't. But there's enough crime and crooks around that we can always use another guy on our team. And I plan to help Captain Comet any way I can.
And then Hawkman speaks for the first time. It's cool here because his face is sort of shrouded in darkness as he says,
I agree. Captain, allow me to give you a tour of our satellites before the hot air makes this room too uncomfortable.
He stands up, puts a reassuring hand on Comet's shoulder as we see Green Arrow sitting down, looking very grumpy.
Later, when only Hawkman and Green Lantern remain with Captain Comet in the satellite...
And with his tour of the satellite concluding, we meet Captain Comet in mid-conversation with Green Lantern and a curiously bare-legged Hawkman. As Captain Comet says,
And I know from working with them that the supervillains enjoy operating together. Perhaps it's foolish of me, but I feel somewhat responsible for that.
GL speaks and says, So you're determined to track down all of your former allies. It looks good on paper, but in practice, good luck. That bunch is probably spread all over the country, the world by now. And we see that Hal's standing in front of a computer bank. There's a flashing red light at the top. Comet, replying to Green Lantern, says,
Nonetheless,
and then he breaks off, spotting the light.
that red light, what does it mean?
GL crosses to the computer and switches on the large monitor, where he sees earthquake in San Francisco, and it's a biggie. And then he points at a detail on the screen, and we see what looks like a human form flying above, and GL yells, Do you see that? And the figure moves closer as GL points out, It's my old foe, Sinestro. He's causing the quake. Mind the store, Hawkman. I'll take care of that renegade.
Need I remind you that you are on monitor duty, Green Lantern? Captain Comet and I will handle this matter.
And as Hawkman and Captain Comet make for the exit, GL says, But I've fought Sinestro before.
And the captain has more recently been his partner. Stay here and keep an eye out in case we need a backup.
And thanks to the JLA transporter, moments later, above the city by the bay,
Captain Comet and Hawkman materialise in thin air behind Sinestro, who is using his power ring, which seems to be on his right hand in this issue, firing bolts down towards the ground, saying, Before I depart Earth, I'll leave a sign of my disgust with its inhabitants, and especially the secret society of supervillains. My earthquake will shake the sinister citadel to the ground. Hawkman and Captain Comet fly towards him, with Hawkman saying,
Hold, villain!
Sinestro, still monologuing to himself, says, It will crumble, just as Manhunter's plans for an organised... Eh? Hawkman and Captain Comet? You hope to stop me? And he gestures with his ring, forming a giant yellow energy fist, grabbing Hawkman's mace and smashing his anti-gravity belt. As Hawkman plummets, Captain Comet moves to save him as Sinestro makes his escape into space. Comet catches Hawkman and steadies him on the ground, planning to go after Sinestro, but suddenly Comet whirls to notice that the citadel, which they've conveniently landed beside, has started to topple. He thinks,
If it comes down, it'll crush everything in a 10-block radius.
the man of the future has great strength, and he can fly, but he is not Superman.
We see Comet flying up towards the top of the citadel as the captioning continues.
And so, what for the Man of Steel would require merely lifting a pinky, requires all the strength Captain Comet can muster.
But he does it. Captain Comet manages to steady the citadel. Flies back down towards Hawkman as Hawkman says,
I'm beginning to think I should have let Green Lantern take this one. Without my anti-gravity belt, I'm powerless.
But Captain Comet says,
Nonsense. I don't mind a passenger, if you don't mind somebody else driving.
and he grabs Hawkman and they fly off.
And moments later, somewhere between Earth and Mars...
They're out in space with a nice sphere around them, which helpfully Hawkman explains.
Amazing. You've created an air bubble around us so we can survive in airless space. It's nothing really, just a little trick I picked up during 20 years of planet hopping.
Hawkman sights their foe, pointing and saying,
There's our quarry! Sinestro, surrender! You've no chance of escaping now.
Sinestro, hearing them coming up behind him, swirls around saying, Then I won't try to escape until I've beaten you. And he gestures, and a huge burst of concussive yellow ring energy explodes in front of him as he strikes their bubble, saying, I should have done this earlier. Top of the next page, Comet and Sinestro are squaring up, with Captain Comet grabbing hold of Sinestro's wrists and hands, and Sinestro saying, You can stop my fists, but not my mental control over my ring. We can see that he's gesturing with his ring and forming a very intricate-looking device as he continues, My power-spawn vice will crush your skull like an egg. And indeed the vice surrounds Captain Comet's head, starts to close on it. Sinestro says, What? No dying words from the doomed man? And a caption reads,
Were he more confident of victory, Captain Comet might have explained his own mental powers to his foe. But at the moment, he needs every ounce of concentration.
And we see Captain Comet's face focusing, and miraculously, the vise opens and flies up and slams shut on Sinestro's face with a wonk. As Sinestro cries, That's impossible! A slow dissolve.
And shortly, with the Renegade in tow...
Yep, and still using the air bubble, Captain Comet and Hawkman are making their way back to the JLA satellite, dragging Sinestro behind them. Hawkman says,
I wanted to help you back there, but I sensed it was a private battle. In a way, it was. Call it a declaration of war. A war between Captain Comet and whatever remains of the secret society of supervillains. Where the threat of Darkseid ended, the society itself becomes a threat, and I intend to stop it.
And Hawkman looks very thoughtful as a caption closes things out and reads,
Next issue, Captain Comet versus the Secret Society. The wizard and funky flashman go to town, and the deadly threat of Captain's Cataclysmic. On sale third week in December.
Gosh, issue 5. So first of all, we'll get the first thing out of the way. I hope that Black Racer wasn't paid for every line of dialogue that he had.
Wasn't worth them getting out of his hospital bed, really, was it?
Not really.
Gas.
I thought that was hilarious. After issue 4, with it having him on the cover as the big threat, impending doom, and then that cliffhanger of him zooming down and Darkseid's letting it go away.
Yes. Right, before we start, I'll need to say this is the first issue of Secret Society of Supervillains I ever had. And not only that, it's also one of the first American comics I ever had.
Wow. Excellent.
So it has a fond place in my heart and memory. It is epic because it blew my mind just seeing all these bad guys together. Plus, you've got quite a lot of heroes in this as well. And it made me a fan of the series and the characters and everything basically forever. Because for much as this is a game of two halves, I think this is possibly one of the more progressive and more interesting of the issues that we've covered so far.
Yeah.
The way that it ties up the first ongoing storyline and then sets you off in new tracks with everything else. The characterization in this is fantastic. I do love this issue immensely. And I know it's mostly nostalgia. Objectively, it's not as good as I remember it. However, I do love it, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It does a good job of rounding up this quite sort of loose arc of Darkseid wanting to attack Earth. We missed a line, actually. There was a reference made to Intergang being out of the way, which also tied into Superman 301 a few weeks ago.
Yes,
You know, it kind of rather explosively winds up the sort of plan for Darkseid's attacking Earth, because that's it. Darkseid and Manhunter both destroyed as Manhunter blew them up in the gaping maw of that boom tube.
And Darkseid's never seen again.
Yep, that's the last appearance of both of them.
Yeah, Manhunter was successful, yeah, that is it.
It'll be interesting to see if we get any correspondence on that. That's the end of the Paul Kirk Manhunter. Reading it, I felt that we really needed to cut away to maybe the boom tube opening up and the two of them falling out the other end. But the explosion seems to definitely be saying that's definitely the end of Manhunter.
Yes.
And suggests possibly the death of Darkseid at the same time. Oh, sorry, Darkseid, habit of a lifetime, listeners. I'm sorry to see Manhunter go.
Yeah, but I think there was no place really for his character to go after this, because he is the superhero leading the team of supervillains. Yeah. And when you get rid of the bigger threat, then what's he going to do? He can't really make them heroes. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because essentially Captain Comet and Manhunter had that conversation last week where they sort of, Manhunter said, I'm not really a villain, by the way. I'm trying to stop them and all that.
Sure.
It's one of these things, the question you have to ask is, do you really need two superheroes in this series? Is it more effective if it's just one guy up against them?
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, as someone who's become a bit of a fan of this version of Manhunter through the story we did from Detective Comics and reading this series, I think I wouldn't have minded if Captain Comet had got blown up in the boom tube instead.
Gasp.
To be honest.
Shocking.
Basically, because I find Manhunter a bit more interesting. I don't mind Captain Comet. I don't have a huge, deep personal sort of history of being a fan of him or anything. But I'm very sorry to see Manhunter go because first of all, I think it was very interesting to use him in the first place.
Sure.
But also, I'm very impressed at the way they got rid of him. I mean, this has been a round robin of different creators and stuff. And I wonder how much of this was done by each writer at the time or if there was a plan worked out in advance. I mean, I think it's a lot more coherent than Freedom Fighters has been from what we've done that so far. I would like to think it was a plan that everyone just kind of maybe scripted or followed through.
Sure.
I'm gutted to see him go.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't come back. Another Manhunter clone will appear in the 2000 series, The Power Company. I'll post some covers from that this week on the socials. I'll need to have a look and see if there's any reference to Darkseid in those issues. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry to see him go. But it's, how well do you think, or how much do you think this was supposed to be the death of Darkseid?
I think it was basically left as, if you want it to be the death of Darkseid, it can be. but it's probably not. You can,
Yeah.
if you feel there's a story to be written.
Because he does come back very soon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I looked this up on Mike's. He's back in issue 12 of the Revived New Gods, which is very soon after this. So it's
Yeah, It's barely a scratch.
I wonder. I've not actually read the Revived issues. I'll have to have a look and see if there's any reference to Manhunter or anything like that.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Going back to your point about Manhunter and Captain Comet, if there had been two heroes in it, they're very much like an alternate World's Finest team with Captain Comet as Superman
Wow.
and Manhunter as the detective martial artist.
That's a great comparison. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that would have been quite interesting if they had their own solo joint adventures, I should say.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that would have been quite cool. I wonder if part of the editorial change, I wonder if it was Denny that said, listen, this has been dragging on for 4 issues, can you just wind this up, to Bob Rozakis. I wonder if he said that, or if it's Bob Rozakis.
Did you think it was dragging?
No, but bearing in mind, I think this is bi-monthly, I think.
Yeah.
Was it bi-monthly or was it monthly? But yeah, it's
Pretty much bi-monthly.
and it's very unusual, especially in DC, to have ongoing
Yeah.
storylines to go as long as this.
You're right. I mean, it's as we've sort of said in recent months, there is a definite feeling that it's probably Jerry Conway's influence that things were getting a bit more Marvel-y.
Yeah.
And this has felt like
Uh-huh.
I've made comparisons to Defenders and all that because,
Yeah.
the kind of almost,
Rotating team lineup and mad ideas.
yeah, writing one line and folding a bit of paper over for the next person to write the next bit sort of sense
Yeah,
to some of the
uh-huh,
plotting.
uh-huh.
But it's been quite satisfying. I have really enjoyed this. And it is unusual. I mean, at this point, I think still the longest JLA crossover we've done has been 3 issues, and I think that's the longest
Sure.
they'll ever be. We haven't really done, I think we've done a Flash storyline that stretched over 3 issues.
Yeah.
That's about as far as individual story arcs that we've really gone.
Uh-huh.
And of course, there's the extra issue 1, which we've covered for Secret Society, so it's
True.
I'm impressed at them having the balls to sort of basically wind this up mid-issue and then use the second half. It feels more of a season premiere than a season finale issue.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Uh-huh.
I remember with Smallville, the reason I gave up on Smallville about 5 or 6 series in was that each season finale would really ramp things up, really, really ramp it up. There'd be tension, handheld cameras,
Yeah.
lots of close-ups, urgency.
Uh-huh.
And then the first episode of the next series would deal with all of it. And then episode 2, they'd be back into
Just normal routine.
thing of the week situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Over a couple of years, I just got really bored with it, with the way they was doing that, And I like the way this sort of I was thinking of it when I was reading this one, because this, I think, does a better job of dealing with one thing, leaving some things open, but at the same time starting the next sort of storyline. So we've got the second half is Captain Comet and everyone taking down Sinestro and Comet saying, right, no, I'm going to get them. But what's really interesting is after the explosion, we don't see the other villains. We have no idea what happened to them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how many more of them, if any of them, do pop up in subsequent issues.
Absolutely.
Cover is a slight Defenders cover, I must say.
It's more accurate than most of them have been recently.
Yeah.
So
GL and Sapphire weren't there at the point that Comet and Hawkman were tussling with Sinestro and Comet was stopping the building from collapsing, but it's pretty damn close, especially compared to last issue.
Comet stopping the building also reminded me of, I think this is the second week in a row I've mentioned it, James Gunn's Superman, where he's stopping that building falling down when you've got that woman trying to get away in the car underneath.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of that, although obviously the building does collapse in that one, but the same sort of idea. Looked like it's like, okay, I'm holding this. I hope this holds together, but I'm holding this.
Yeah.
I've got to bring it up because I find it hilarious. Justice League bureaucracy, especially Hawkman and his red tape. It's like, no, Green Lantern, although he's your foe and you're the best equipped to handle him, I'm going to go down with my anti-gravity belt wings and a mace.
Yes.
You stay here with your power ring and watch us do it on television.
Yes.
Amazing. Proper super dickery from Hawkman. Yes.
Amazing levels. Yeah. Amusingly, Hawkman just gets pulled up straight away. It's astonishing.
Exactly. It's wonderful. It's one of the reasons why I love Hawkman. He's just so pompous, arrogant, thinks he's amazing.
Yeah.
And quite often gets his head handed to him. But it's wonderful. I love that character.
Yeah.
You just want to pop his bubbles all the time.
Absolutely. And very nice to have that JLA sort of cameo, because I was sort of wondering where they've been in a lot of ways over the previous few issues. Thanks to our returning voice artists for helping us out in that scene.
Absolutely, yes. Amazing. It makes all the difference, folks.
Absolutely. Definitely. Don't say we're not good to you on the Earth 2 podcast. I felt the artwork was a bit Game of Two Halves as well.
Sure.
The first few pages especially looked like, when Rich Buckler was drawing Fantastic Four and being told to draw like Jack Kirby. they look very Kirby-like in their sort of blocking and their sort of layouts and the positioning of figures. But then the second half is almost worthy of Dick Dillon in the way it's sort of laid out and drawn. It's
Sure.
I suppose it says a lot that Rich Buckler was very good at paying homage to the styles of other artists when it was required.
Yeah. There's one bit of artwork I need to point out as well, which I love. The scene with Funky Flashman, the Wizard, and Sinestro,
Yes.
when they're all talking, the very last panel on the first page. It's amazing how much he captures the look of 1970s Stan Lee
Yes.
in that picture. I was looking at videos of Stan Lee on YouTube earlier on, because I wanted to try and get into character.
Sure.
And he looks just like him. Seriously, the face is exactly the same. The ones like, the mid distance and in the distance, they all are a bit variable, but that close up is almost like a tracing. I think he's taken a photograph and traced it.
It does look as if it's been taken from a photo reference. You're right. It's very clear what's going on. Very, very funny. I wonder what Stan thought of the whole Funky Flashman thing.
I wonder what Roy thought of House Roy. But yes.
Poor Roy. Because he was always such a big, hunking, muscular, powerful, strong chap, wasn't he? Okay, so what's going on there? The ending of one chapter, start of the next one. Manhunter, we barely knew you. Let's jump to the contemporary correspondence and looking ahead to issue 8. My goodness, quite a little bit in the distance. Back cover. Will I tell you about it now, or will I talk about it when we get there? No, I won't tell it now. Back cover has the Spalding Presents Street Ball with Rick Barry and Dr. J advertisement.
Yay.
And for years, I had no idea who those people were. And to this day, I'm still not entirely sure. I'm sure someone will tell us at some point. So, the first letter in issue 8, dealing with issue 5. The Sinister Citadel, headed by drawings of Captain Comet and the Wizard, goes like this.
Dear Editor, Secret Society of Supervillains number 5 was a mixed bag of loose ends that apparently had to be tied up before the new creative team of Harris, Rozakis and Buckler put their story ideas to work. As a result, Darkseid finally appeared on Earth, only to vanish in a boom tube blast caused by the Manhunter clone, and Sinestro was tracked down and defeated by Captain Comet while Hawkman stood by and took notes. Well, he sure didn't do anything else. Now, you and I know that Darkseid's still up and kicking somewhere, because the Return of the New Gods issue of First Issue Special told us the fate of the Earth and the continuation of his existence were linked, at least for the present. Jack C. Harris interjects saying, and the future too. Watch for the New Gods and Mr. Miracle coming soon. There you go, back to the letter. The Earth's still here, so Darkseid's not out of it yet. The clone of Paul Kirk, however, is no doubt gone for good. A healthy development in my view. He served his purpose, bringing the supervillains together in the first place. But now the book ought to move in new directions. Speaking of which, I'm glad you plan to continue the use of Captain's Claude. I kept in the spelling error there.
Yes.
Boomerang and Comet. But I'm sorry to hear that Captain Stingery of Batman Infamy will also be popping up. He and Copperhead should definitely take a hike. More emphasis should be given to the exciting new Star Sapphire. And the Mirror Master as well. Characters such as these could be the real strength of this book, while foul-ups like Copperhead and Stingery can only ruin it. And that's from Ed Via, 1648 Dean Road, Roanoke, VA.
Copperhead, I'm reminded actually, the closing caption for issue 4 told us that we'd see the fate of Copperhead in issue 5, and that didn't happen. So, will Copperhead ever return? Listeners, stay tuned, we'll find out. Editorial response to Ed's letter. Ruin it? You'd better not let the Copperhead hear you talk like that. He's still on the loose. Each letter we receive asks us to keep some villains, get rid of some others, and add new ones. We can't comply with every request, but we do try to keep tabs on the most popular of the bad guys you love to hate. It's a bit rough, though, since many of your requests are hidden in the body of a critical or praising letter. How about this? Take a postcard, print the name of the one villain you like the best, and your name and address on the back, and send it to Supervillain Popularity Poll, care of Secret Society of Supervillains, DC Comics, 75 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York. If you do this separately from your letters, we can keep an accurate count of the villains you'd most like to see. Okay? Okay, JCH, that's a great idea. Listeners, did you send a postcard to Secret Society of Supervillains? Please write into the Earth2podcast@gmail.com and let us know. The next letter reads, Dear Editor, I just read issue 5. I loved it. Bob Rozakis' script was filled with characterization and action, and I really dig the artwork of Rich Buckler. You weren't kidding when you mentioned radical changes. It looks as if Manhunter, the new Star Sapphire, Darkseid and Mantis are all dead. Since the new Star Sapphire is dead, how about the return of the original Star Sapphire in future issues? Good luck. That's from Charles David Haskell from New York, editorial response.
Hold it, CDH. Where in the world did you get the idea that the new Star Sapphire was dead? We never said such a thing. And, as you can clearly see by this issue's epic, she's still active within the society. As for the original Star Sapphire, she's really Carol Ferris, the girlfriend of Green Lantern. How she was involved in the origin of the new Star Sapphire is a very interesting tale that we may get around to telling you someday. Let us know if you'd like to see that story.
I would have thought that doing that story would have been a given. Come on.
The final letter says, Dear Editor, when I first heard of the return of Captain Comet, I thought, yes, definitely, yes. For the good Captain is, in my opinion, the greatest of DC's characters. However, having seen him in Secret Society of Supervillains, I no longer think he should be revived. Whether or not it was realistic of me, I looked forward to seeing the original Captain Comet. The character that has been in Secret Society of Supervillains has a different uniform, a flight belt, and a more than hinted at neurosis. Thus, I would prefer to see Captain Comet climb aboard the Cometeer and resume his cosmic wandering until such a time as he can return as he was originally. And that scathing report was from Robert Gerber from St. Charles, M.O., Montana?
Missouri? I'm not sure. Steve will know. Ross will know. Someone will tell us. Quick editorial response. Again, we'll tunnel the answers of this letter to your fellow readers, Robert. What do you think, Captain Comet fans? Do you like the way we've handled CC in the pages of SSOSV? Or would you like to see the return of the suspended, space-suited, unemotional, omnipotent mutant of the past? There, that's 2 questions and 1 poll we want you to answer. It's up to you to fill our mail slot during the next 2 months by writing to The Sinister Citadel, DC Comics, 75 Rockefeller Plaza, New York 10019. The Secret Society of Supervillains will return.
As will we, yes. Next week for our annual roundup.
Yep, it's that time of year already.
I know. Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat, and nervous, probably.
Yes, listeners, that's what we in the Contemporary Folk thought about the first arc of Secret Society of Supervillains. What are your thoughts? Please get in touch and let us know. How would people do that, Peter?
Well, you can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media because we'll have some lovely bonus material prepared for you for this episode.
Yep.
On Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky, we're at the Earth2 Podcast, and on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and it is the number 2 for all of our socials.
It certainly is. Listeners, if you're feeling generous at this time of year, you could go to our coffee page and buy us a few beverages so we can get smashed while we record the end of the year review episode. Failing that, you could go to wherever it is you receive your podcasts and leave a positive review. That would be lovely. Or you could consider sharing some of our posts on the social media, as many people do. So, as we said, the Secret Society of Supervillains will return before too long. Starting next year, we've got the long-awaited next JLA-JSA crossover, but a couple more surprises to come before that. But we'll see you next week for a bit more of a relaxed chat about everything that we've covered this year.
On that note, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. Take care. We'll see you soon on
the Earth2 Podcast.
Transmatter cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
And as power continues to bubble and seethe, he laughs manically for 3 pages. No, he doesn't. He laughs manically for 3 panels.
That's the outtake. My marvellous moniker is Fearless Funky Flashman, fellas, and I'm here to help you help yourselves to the hallowed halcyon hypocrisy of high-class hoopla and hype. One take Watson, that's what they call me.
He points at Sinestro.
You, pal, with the Wild Widow's Peak and the... Okay, 2 take Watson, that's what they call me.
2 take Watson.
Alas, we'll have to wait until next issue to hear Peter attempt to do Stan Lee's voice again.